Okay, the first step in creating a gradient is you want to come over here and your color panel, and let's check it out a little bit. So you already know that you can pick your fill color here. You can get a variety of different colors. You can manipulate it even here by changing the hue or saturation or brightness of the color. You can even come in here into the RGB of it and add more or less blue, green, or red. And down here's an important one. This is the alpha, meaning how opaque it is. If you want to give a color a transparency, if you want colors to show up behind a color, this also is dependent on if the color is behind it on a layer. But you can change the alpha. So for example, if I reduce this alpha to 56, let's create a shape here. Now this color here, actually give you a better idea of it and put it on its own layer. Copy and paste it here. Since this has a transparency, you can actually see through it. See that? So you can even have some fun with that. You can get really creative on your coloring. But for now, let's just play with some gradients. One important thing, I have my color swatch here, or at least the majority of my color swatch here, and I'm going to show you why. That's going to make it really easy whenever you are creating a gradient. So I'm going to come over here and choose between my gradients. So there's solid color, linear gradient, radial gradient, and bitmap fill. We're going to focus on these two right here. And actually, in most natural organic shapes, they're round, and so there's going to be a point where the light hits it and sort of rolls over the rest of the shape, and that's going to give it a look of a more volumetric look. It's going to look more natural. So for this, we're going to stick to a radial gradient, and same with your characters. Using a radial gradient is going to make it look a little bit more natural, even though it's a completely ridiculous character. So now that I have a radial gradient, I have this bar underneath, and right now it's a pretty standard black and white gradient. And if I were to create a shape right here, it would apply that black or white gradient to it. So if I got rid of this line by double clicking it, deleting it, now I have this gradient here. And I can actually change the size of this shape using the Q command, and it maintains the aspect ratio of that gradient. So I'm going to back out of that, Control Z, and I'm going to actually delete it. So we're going to do the same thing with, well, let's start off with this pink color. So down here there's these two handles here. You can choose how close they are together, which makes the line and you're grading it that much sharper. And you can actually do this after you make a selection. Let's keep it pretty stock right now, but I'm going to select this color and I'm going to double click it, and I'm going to have this eyedropper. So I can either click the color, the reference color here, or actually here. So I'll do it right here, and then I'll double click it and I'll take a reference of this lighter pink that I've decided. And now when I use the hotkey K and click on this pink, I'm applying a gradient. Now it looks no different. It's because there's some handles that we're going to play with, and let me show you. So if we come over here to our free transform tool, or Q, and it's underneath our other selection tools like V and A for the subselection tool. So if I click and hold it, there is a gradient transform tool, or the hotkey F. Now when I click this color that I have just applied a gradient to, you can see I got this blue line right here. And Flash does this, and I don't know why, but it blows up the controls for this gradient tool to so they're enormous and you can't see the actual controls themselves. So if I zoom out, way out, and then hit F again, there's the control for it. So you got some options. You can change the shape of it. You can change how big it is. And you can even change the rotation. Why would you need to change the rotation on a circle? Well, let's say that our light source is coming from this direction. And this area right here is actually the center point of your gradient. So you can change the center point. So we can switch it so this area is where the light is coming from. And you can see that everything is sort of changed a little bit now. One thing that I notice is that instead of having the light part as the center of our gradient, it is now the darker part. And so let's switch that up by just grabbing this key and switching places. And you see that? Now let's zoom in. Now you don't have to pick all the colors at once, and in fact it might be best not to. So let's say we give this selection a different gradient, and let's give it a little bit more shadow this time. So we can come over to this color and make it a little bit darker. Now let's apply it to this area. Hit F again. Now here's a little trick. So you don't have to zoom out each time. So you have this area selected, you have your gradient tool selected. If I come over here and change it to linear gradient, my controls are much smaller, and then go back to radial gradient, now this thing is a much more manageable size. So let's check, let's make this the area that we want. So I'm going to say that there's going to be a little bit of shadow coming from underneath his pecs, and now I'm going to apply it the same gradient to the rest of it. It matches it a little bit better. And you can keep adjusting your gradients by coming over here to this slider. You can even add more colors by clicking anywhere on the slider. And I'm going to add this pink back into it and sort of stretch that out. Let's see what that looks like when I again, I'm going to have to click between the linear and now radial, and let's apply it to all of it. Little something like that. And we can do the same to, actually, I'm not quite done with this one. I'm going to get rid of this highlighted area. I'm just going to make it slightly lighter. There, I like that a little bit better. And I'm going to do the same for this area here too. except I'm going to make it even darker at the bottom. And let's go ahead and apply it. Hit F, come over here, click between linear, radial, sort of adjust it to fit the shape a little bit. And let's apply it. Oh. Alright, cool. So already getting a little bit of depth in here, and now I'm going to do the same thing for the green. So come over here and let's start over with the new one. This is going to be the light area. I'm going to click the light area of the green, and this is going to be the darker area. Let's give it a little bit more darkness there. And just going to adjust this portion for now, and then I can sample it and apply it to the rest of the green. So again, switch between linear and radial, and we can adjust it here. Something like that. And I'm going to take a sample of it and apply it down here and over here. Actually, I'm going to create a different gradient for this side of it. Just a little bit slightly different. Again, switch between linear and radial. Make it look as if it's sort of popping forward. Take a sample of it, apply it to that shoulder. Alright, that's pretty sweet. Let's keep moving along. Do the same to the head here. Change it ever so slightly. Paint it. F. Switch between linear and radial. In the preceding videos, I'm going to continue using the same process for applying gradients, but I'm going to speed up the video and take notes if you see me do something that you need a little bit more explanation on. Bring that to class or onto the blog or the Mighty Bell, and I'll do my best to answer it. Okay, so I'll see you for the next one.